Hi everyone, I'm Huub Hildenbrand. Thanks for tuning into my channel, Huub Hildenbrand Guitar Academia. Today we will have the first lesson, like an entrance, start of a new adventure. It's about the Turkish classical music and the microtones. So let's get right into the endless ocean of music. Welcome to the first lesson of the Turkish classical music course, the microtones. Before we even touch this subject, we have to talk a little bit about the Western tonal system of 12 tones. The Turkish equal temperament of 53 notes in comparison to the 12 tones equal temperament of the Western music may seem very different, but actually they are not. They are very connected. And to really understand this and to understand the basis of the Turkish tonal system, we first will understand the basis of the Western tonal system, and it's a good idea anyway to understand this tonal system actually, because most of us, of course, we take it for granted. You know, if your like music is in the category of Western music, we just don't think about it anymore. We just have our 12 tones, and we everything we are doing, we're doing with these tones, like on the piano. Why should you think about certain things about go deeper into, I don't know, where it's coming from and so on, when you don't need it for your practical being a musician. But actually it's very interesting, and I think it's very important to know more about that topic. So this lesson will be entirely about the Western tuning, and you should watch this lesson to go to the lesson 2, where I introduce you to the Turkish microtones, tonal system of the Turkish classical music. The question is, where is our 12-note system coming from? And what is it actually? The second question is maybe really simple to lay out. The answer is simple to lay out. It's just, our system is just dividing the octave, so from C to C, into 12 equal parts. And these parts we call half steps. So we have 12 half steps to reach the same note up an octave. 12 notes, 12 equally spaced notes, sounds. So we call the system 12. I mean the abbreviation is 12 minus ET, means 12 equal temperament. Equal temperament means all the notes are spaced the same. The distances are all the same. Okay. This is actually a pretty artificial system. It's, in a way, it's connected to nature or to natural natural rules, you can say, but it's shifted a bit from that. A tonal system is really not a nature-given thing. A tonal system is what people make up. What people make up to make the music, to play the sounds, maybe the chords, the melodies, the scales, the intervals they like. They express what they need to express themselves. And our Western tonal system is quite, how you can say, quite an intellectual system, because there are all these chords, tonalities, scales, and things, polyphony, and all that stuff, which it should be able to cover all these things. Okay, but a very important concept I will explain to you now. It's like how these 12 tones developed, how this system developed, and a sort of starting point you have in ancient Greece. You have the so-called Pythagorean tuning, and this tuning is stacking up perfect fifths. Now I have to go a bit deeper into the harmonic series in just intonation, the overtone series, because that's a very important thing here. You should know. The harmonic series is a natural thing. What happens around the globe, the whole globe, if you strike a string. It's not just producing the note of the whole length sounding, but it's also producing all these subdivisions. And we will go into this in a later lesson. I will do an intermediate lesson about the harmonic series, and this is also a very important thing to really check out, and it gives us also new possibilities on the instrument what to play. Now I don't want to really go deep into it, but we need to clarify one important thing, and that is a perfect fifth. Actually, the harmonic series, as I said, is a nature-given thing. It's a natural thing. It just happens naturally that when you strike a string, it's not just sounding in the whole length, but in all its subdivisions. And we number them from the lowest number to the higher numbers. So if we subdivide the whole string into two parts, we come to an octave. And this octave is already sounding in the note when I play just the open string. So this note is actually sounding very little bit, very soft in this lower open string sound. And it's very important. It has a huge influence on the sound quality, on the timbre of the instrument. How these overtones, these harmonics are, how loud they are sounding, which harmonics are sounding louder, which are softer. This is actually making the sound of the instrument. Or how you play the string, whether it's more sharp, you play it more here or there. It's only actually affecting the overtones, the relationships, the soft or loudness of the different overtones in relation to each other. Okay, but back to the harmonic series. If we divide the whole string into two parts, so we divide it, we come to an octave. This octave is not bringing us any new note. In history, it was. I have to say that it was not always the case. In history, it also took some time to really to really recognize the octave as the same note, just higher. That's actually really interesting if you think about the whole development of music, of our system, that everything we now are taking for granted has to be developed some time ago. But how? And this is just the most basic things. It's like the invention of the wheel. It's just there now, but it took people to invent it. It took some time. It took a long time till this music up to date. What we call like Western music or Turkish music or whatever. How long it actually evolved. It need to evolve. Okay, back to the harmonic series. If I divide the string in the next division, that means into 3 parts, I actually reach a new note. I have a new tone. It gives me a new tone. And this tone is called a B. I have an E again, half, and the third of the string gives me a B. And this B, in relationship to the octave, is a perfect fifth. So the second overtone, or as you have to say, the third partial, and we please go to this harmonic series, to the intermediate lesson later when I published it. It will maybe clear some things we are talking here, and maybe you're not really familiar with that stuff. Okay, but the third partial gives us actually a new note, a B, a perfect fifth from the original whole string sounding. And as I said before, this note is also already sounding very soft in the whole string itself. And you hear this. If you concentrate on this note, you hear it's there. And this is a natural phenomenon. This is always the case around the whole globe if any human striking just an open string, maybe of a bow of this weapon. There, people say that this guitar actually the first ancestor of this instrument was this kind of a weapon. And if you strike this string on the bow, it produces a sound, and it always produces also harmonics, overtones. Now, the thing you have to keep in mind is that if this is a natural phenomenon, if this is always happening, all music, what people are inventing, all tonal system, everything must be in a way related to that. Because it's not possible that a string sounds without these harmonics. So if you invent new tones, if you invent new tonal systems, chords or whatever, there are always these harmonics already there. So all tonal systems must be in a way, you can't do it differently, must be related to these overtones. So if you have notes which are really falling together with the overtone series, with the harmonics, then these sounds are mostly considered as pure, as beautiful, as correct. Okay, knowing all that stuff, keep in mind that the third partial brings us a new note. And this principle of the fifth interval bringing us a new note, we use for building our Western tonal system and also the tonal system of Turkish classical music. Very important to know is that these first intervals, first notes, first relationships of the first, let's say, four partials, like root, the whole string, half, third, fourth. So dividing the string into four parts. They give us all the perfect intervals, and the perfect intervals, there's a reason why they are called perfect, because they are melt so perfectly together. They are melting. The octave are two tones melting very much, very. The tones are melting together, so it's maybe you can say it's not as obvious that you have two notes sometimes. They're just melting together into one sound. And a bit less, and again a bit less, this happens if you go up the harmonic series, go up the overtone scale. But the first harmonics, the first partials, they form all these perfect intervals, and they are really used to tune all these stringed instruments around the world, because they're easy to tune. You really know when it's like perfect in tune. It's very clear, and it's very interesting actually why certain intervals are more easy than others. Of course, it has to do with the harmonic series, and this is a phenomenon you should be really aware of. Because wherever on the whole globe you strike this one string, all these other overtones are present, and the lower overtones are exceptionally present. Okay, with this Pythagorean tuning, what you do is you stack up perfect fifths. You take the perfect fifths of the harmonic series, and because this is the first note, the lowest note of the harmonic series, which brings us a new tone. And this is a very strong principle and a very strong relationship. So you take this perfect fifth, and by taking a perfect fifth, for example, from E to B, you reach this B, you have a new tone. Then you take this B and put another perfect fifth on it, F sharp, and you reach another tone. If you stack up 12 perfect fifths, you reach the note you started, of course, some octaves higher. So it's like a circle, you can say. You start from C, for example, C, G, D, A, E, and so on. And then after 12 perfect fifths, you reach the note where you started. But with these natural, pure, perfect fifth intervals from the harmonic series, you will not exactly match the tone you started. You will reach, after 12 perfect fifths, you will reach a note which is a bit higher than the note you started, plus some octaves, of course. And this distance, the distance which this note is higher, this distance, in relationship to the note you started, this is called Pythagorean comma. And it's a kind of a quarter of a half step, you can say. So you have a half step, EF, and a quarter of this is a Pythagorean comma. And our music today, I can tell you the story very short. Our music today is just to make all these perfect fifths a bit smaller, and then you reach the same note as you started, and everything falls into place. You have all is tempered, all the same distances. You have the 12 tones, but of course you lost the perfect fifth. I mean the pure perfect fifth. You made it a bit smaller. That sounds very technical, but it has of course like a musical effect, and it took a long time in the end of the Baroque period in Europe to feel comfortable with this system, because the system before was much more connected to the harmonic series with all these other intervals also. So, in a way, we start, the history is, we start with a Pythagorean tuning, then we move into a more like just intonation to take to change the notes, to have a certain root and chords and thirds and other intervals, which sound very nice. But then, in the Baroque period, like figures like Johann Sebastian Bach was a very important figure there. They had this new thing, you can say, like modulation to this key, to this key, to this key, and this wasn't really possible in this more pure just intonation tuning. So they changed it. They made it in a way. They made all equal to have every key to reach every key in just a second. So every key, in a way, when you consider relationships, sounds the same. A major have the same relationships than E major, and so on. So you can modulate very freely through all these keys, minor, major, and whatever. You can really go nuts, so to speak. But in a way, you lost most, even almost all of the beautiful, pure harmonic intervals of also just intonation, and what actually the music, the natural rules, the harmonic series is giving us. We have to, at a certain point in our history, we decided to go further and to leave the system behind. But of course, it's a natural phenomenon. It's a natural thing. So it still has its power, even on the Western music. It still is a great consideration. For example, if you have a string quartet, instruments which actually can play all these tones in between, to have a good intonation of the chords and the major thirds and the fifths, that they sound very, very beautiful. There, actually, the harmonic series comes into play again. So it's not possible to get rid of these rules, of this rule of the harmonic series. Okay, to sum it up, what we just talked about, the most important thing we learned is that we have a different perfect fifth in the harmonic series, in the rule of nature, than in our 12-note equal temperament. And the perfect fifth of the harmonic series is slightly bigger, slightly bigger, greater distance. Okay. Another one very important thing is if we deal with microtones. We have a very great tool how we can measure them in relation to our system, because that's mainly what we are doing when we deal with microtones, is to think how much they differ from our tones, because our tones on the guitar, the tones are there because we have these frets. So we just know, okay, this is a G, and if we tune the guitar, this is a right G. So to reach the other notes, we don't have any frets. We have to bend the string, or different techniques. We will talk about this. And to talk about this, and we can really put like certain ratios, numbers to these microtones. And this system is called cent, the cent system. The cent system is very easy. It's just that if we have a half step going, for example, from E to F, we divide this distance into 100 cent. So we have 100 numbers, or 99 numbers in between of these two notes. And that system is really sufficient for all microtones there are. Of course, we will dealing with comma, like maybe 1 comma or 1.89 cent or these kinds of things, but they are more like theoretic. It's good to be exact with that, but it's not necessary to know to be able to play like the difference between 2 cent and 2.3 cent. Or it's so small. It's so fine, this scale. That all we have to know is this system with 100 cent. So if we go from C to the next C up an octave, we have 1,200 cent. And every half step, it doesn't matter from C to C sharp or from G sharp to A, it's always 100 cent. So we can compare all these different other tonal systems, microtones, with our system by saying, okay, this is like an A, but it's 12 cent higher, for example. And that's really something you need if you deal with microtones. So it's a system which is taking the Western 12-tone system as a basis, and from there looking into all these different possibilities of notes in between microtones. Of course, if you look from a different system, it makes no sense to think the cent numbers, because you're not dividing the octave in the same distances as we do. So maybe you have also cent, but they are it's going too far actually. I have to stop myself here. Okay, we go back to our harmonic series, and now we can, using the cent, we can really address a certain number, a certain difference to the perfect fifths of the harmonic series, to the perfect fifths we are using in our 12-tone system. Our fifths in our 12-tone system has 700 cent. 700 cent because it's 7 half steps. That's easy. So what with a harmonic series, with a harmonic, the pure fifths, the fifths of just intonation, it has almost 702 cent. That's not very much, of course. But of course, if we use Pythagorean tuning and we stack up perfect fifths, pure perfect fifths, then after 12 perfect fifths, we reach a difference of 24, almost 24 cent. Almost a quarter of a half step. And this is already some difference. Okay, so let me sum up this lesson, because that's it for today, and we go on from there in the next lesson 2 of Turkish classical music. We just sum it up here. We have a harmonic series. In the harmonic series, the perfect fifth, the main building block of our tonal system, is slightly bigger than the perfect fifth we are using in our 12-tone equal temperament, a European system. But still, this perfect fifth is also for our ears the most, you can say beautiful or relaxed sounds of 2 different notes. And this perfect fifth, we also, if we play a C and a G on a tuned guitar, mostly, if we bend this fifth just a very little bit, we reach a sound which is more resting, where the notes are melting a bit more together. So the bit higher G melts more with the C. You hear it? Instead of so a bit higher the G. If I play a C and a G, it's alright, but it's not perfect. It's not a pure interval. If it would be pure, I would tune it a bit higher. Now, that's different. You hear it? You have to go back and forth in the video just to compare these two perfect fifths. It's a difference. And your ear tells you this perfect fifth is actually much better, much nicer. They melt more together, the tones. It's more satisfying. But it's not the note we have in our 12-tone equal temperament. But as I said, we have a lot of different possibilities with this kind of simple 12-tone system. It's simple, actually. It's really a simplification, you can say. It's a simplification of natural rules, and think about it yourself. Maybe this lesson gave you a new view on this whole thing. And it's really worth studying this, going more into the depth of the different tunings, also in the Baroque period and Renaissance period, and you have this Kernberger 1, 2, 3 tuning, and you have just intonation, and you have the well-tempered tuning of what is Bach. There's a well-tempered piano work is a basis, and our 12-tone equal temperament is even a bit different than that. A lot of people doesn't know this, actually. They think, okay, the well-tempered clavier from Johann Sebastian Bach is our system we have today, but it's not. It's still another step to come to this place where we are now. Okay, so I hope you like this lesson. I hope it's not too much. So you're just confused. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Whether there's maybe some questions, maybe I can do a later video to explain certain things a bit more if needed, of course. If you like this lesson, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and there's also a possibility to donate. Go to guitar-academia.com. There you find a button where you can donate, and this would make me very happy to continue the whole process of publishing these videos and topics and to go on with it. So thanks for watching. My name is Huub Hildenbrand.